good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Vincenello Show on WJJL 1440. And you can reach us live at 297-1059. And before we go to our guest, this morning I had to go to inspections to file a permit and got into a very lively discussion with the inspections department. I know those of you that see me in a coffee shop know that I love to debate. And so I took that opportunity this morning to discuss a couple of issues, that have to do with housing. I wasn't complaining about my permit. I think you should file your permits and keep the system going. But, there's things that we're working on that and have been working on as a city for a long time, and just trying to find out how they're progressing. And but we had a very lively discussion, and then I had one with the Director of Inspections, Mr. Virtuoso, down in the parking lot. It's a nice sunny day. That's a good place to have a discussion. So, but again, I just want you to know that that's how I learn, and that's how I get an education, is by asking questions and debating the answers. But today, it's time for you to ask questions, and we can debate some of the. Today, our guest is Gia Arnold, and she's a candidate for the 62nd Senate District, presently represented by Senator George Maziarz. And before we go to Gia, the other thing I want everybody to remember is that there's a school board election coming up this month here in here in Niagara Falls, the town Wheatfield, the town of Niagara, and the other surrounding communities, with Lewiston Porter, Niagara Wheatfield, and the Niagara Falls School District, and other districts around the county. And you don't hear a lot about the school board election, but we always very proud to say that our kids, our children, are our biggest treasure, and our greatest treasure. I don't know. I think we should work a little harder to keep that treasure polished and valuable. So, again, it's an important part of who we are, and I think we should all work towards making those things happen. And really, the best way we can protect our kids and our kids' education is to get involved, know who the candidates are, and ask a lot of questions, just like we're going to ask questions of Gia today. Good morning. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was looking forward to having all the candidates. This is going to be a high year for elections, and I'm looking forward for all the candidates and incumbents to come on the show and really present themselves to the public. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the 24-year-old mother of 3 young daughters, ages 5 to 1.5. My husband and I own a small tree service in Orleans County, and I'm also a state coordinator in a grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the Constitution called New York Revolution.
And what's New York Revolution?
Well, it's our grassroots group across the state. I've been traveling. It really started after the SAFE Act passed, but it's dedicated not just to the Second Amendment, but to the entire United States Constitution. And what we're really pushing is educating the public. So we've been going all across our communities, across the state, pushing voter registration and voter education, how they can become aware of what's going on in their communities and staying active within politics. We feel it's your duty as an American to participate in politics through voting or running for office or holding your elected officials accountable.
And I think that's very important in every position. It is to hold elected officials accountable, not just when you're angry because the pothole didn't get fixed or a tree got cut, but I think we normally address issues that are that we see from our front porch, but people need to understand and learn that we should understand and learn about our entire government, and certainly the state government has a lot of influence on Western New York and certainly Niagara Falls. I felt that for years, New York State really didn't see us aside from the state park where they generate the major amount of revenue. They don't see us as a city, and that's always been an issue for me, even as a young man. But so, what are your plans? Like, what motivated you to say, okay, I'm going to run for office because I can do this or that, or do this better, or I can initiate an initiative that would be good for our Western New York area?
Well, what originally got me interested was belonging to New York Revolution and helping run that. And while doing that and traveling the state, I kept getting told I should run for governor. And I would usually laugh because I'm not old enough to run for governor, and there's no way I would do that. But I started looking around locally where I felt I could run and be most beneficial to our state or our community. And I'm pretty happy with our county in Orleans County and the town that I live in with our, the county and town boards. And I looked between the Assembly and Senate, and I decided that I felt the biggest threat to our freedom and to our, New York's high taxes, and the reason for that would be because of our senator that's been in office for 19 years, and which is why I chose to run for Senate. I really want to start by making New York less taxing on our people. Mm-hmm. We have the highest taxes. We've got the highest energy costs in Western New York. We just came out having, being the 50th worst place to retire in the country. Every day there's something new why New York is the worst and ranked 50th for whatever it may be. I was just listening to the radio on the way in, and this time it was daycare costs are the most expensive here. So for some reason, everything in New York seems to cost us so much more, and I want to know why that is. And I'd like to target, the spending that we have, the unfunded mandates that are hurting our communities. If we can lower taxes, we can make sure that we've got a better business climate, ensure more jobs. Businesses will come to New York State. Businesses that are leaving or thinking about leaving New York State will hopefully stay if we can find a way to lower taxes by cutting unfunded mandates and cutting spending.
Well, again, folks, we're here with Gia Arnold. She's going to be a candidate for the 62nd district, Senate district this year, and you can reach us live at 297-1059. If you have any questions, we're making this time available for you to get involved in all the elections, but certainly, I'll try to get as many candidates on the show as possible. But today it's Gia's hour, and hopefully we can generate some questions where we can have a real good discussion and learn a little bit about our state government and why New York State seems to have so many problems when it comes to businesses and generating jobs, because one of the biggest slams, I don't know, how much do you know about the city of Niagara Falls? I mean, are you familiar with the city of Niagara Falls in the sense that, or just what you read in the paper? I mean, do you have any connection with the city of Niagara Falls?
No personal connection,
Okay.
but I've been doing as much research as I can to find out what's going on in all the communities in the district.
And research is important because a lot of times the city of Niagara Falls and the other cities too, but, I'm more familiar with Niagara Falls, so I can speak about Niagara Falls, is that a lot of people have things to say, but they're not based on fact. And when somebody tells me that they've done some research, then I know that you don't make a mistake between Niagara Falls, New York, and Niagara Falls, Ontario. That there is a border, and there is two Niagara Falls, and Niagara Falls is not just the falls, and the rest of the city is not attached to Buffalo. Because honestly, I've gone to visit Albany in official capacity, and I met senators and assemblymen from Long Island who had never been to Niagara Falls, didn't understand the city that we have here, the fact that one of the biggest power projects actually started because of what happened here in Niagara Falls, and the fact that their only interest was on what's happening with the state park. As far as the people and understanding why there are issues here in the city of Niagara Falls, the level of poverty, the jobs, and all of that, no discussion whatsoever. They had no clue whatsoever because their focus naturally is on Long Island or New York City or whatever. So how do you plan on presenting your district? Because you're from Orleans County, and people should understand that, it's a pretty good-sized district. And in your district, you actually go through cities, towns, rural areas, farm country. I was a union organizer for a couple of years, and I used to have to drive to Orleans County because the IBW, that's part of their district, to several towns. It was pretty interesting to me how many times I would drive. I would take a different route all the time. You would drive through farm country, where the neighbors might be half a mile apart, and here we are. It's right in this area, and I always enjoyed that. I always enjoyed those drives. But how are you going to relate to the issues of the cities? For instance, Lockport seems to have problems now financially. The city of Niagara Falls has been blessed with casino money, and again, I think that can be a curse as well as a secure, because we just put another $200,000 of casino money for totes. The city couldn't figure out that while they're negotiating a contract, they should have probably financed that through the benefits of a new contract. They were supposed to have some additional benefits with recycling. But when you put $200,000 for casino money and buying totes, you don't have to ask those questions, So how do you, how you plan, aside from the research, how you plan on really connecting with the cities of North Tonawanda, Niagara Falls, Lockport? Are you building a structure of people that, will be able to be your surrogates as far as the campaign is concerned?
Oh, absolutely. I've got people across the district so far that have been reaching out to me, letting me know what they feel are the issues, as well as connecting me within their communities further. And I think that growing up, I actually grew up in the city of Rochester, and now I live in a rural community in Orleans County. And part of my teenagehood was in the suburbs in Penfield and Monroe County. So I've lived across, all three different demographics of our counties, and our district does represent each one of those. And I think that right now our current senator really fails and struggles to pay attention to Niagara Falls, Orleans County, and even the 2 townships in Monroe County that he covers, and particularly spends a lot more time in a certain area of Niagara County. And I think that as long as the people know that they have accessibility to me and that I'm going around and having public forums where they can come and talk to me, not where I come and preach to them and tell them what I think and that I think everything I'm doing is great, but where they can talk to me and stress their concerns to me and know that, I'm actually planning a series of forums across at the local libraries that I'm going to be going and having the room rented where people can come in and speak with me and let me know exactly what they're feeling, a person-to-person, one-on-one type of thing, where I'm not just standing up on a stage letting them know that I'm running because I want to be in charge of them. No, I'm running because I want to represent them and be their voice. And I need them to tell me what's going on with their communities because I can't be everywhere at once. And if they're holding me accountable and keeping me aware of what's going on as much as the research I can do, it's a lot more effective when I've got the people participating as well.
Okay, and we do have some callers on the line. We'll go to our callers. Callers, you can reach us at 297-1059. This is the Vincenello Show on WJJL 1440. And caller, you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss. So far, I've enjoyed what Mrs. Arnold is it. I've enjoyed what she's had to say so far. It sounds like a young lady with a good head on her shoulders. I guess my biggest question would be, what would you consider? What would you consider for ethics as far as an elected official? The person you're running against, the current senator, he's kind of surrounded himself and supported people of, I guess their character has been called into question as of late. You've got elected officials from different areas of his district either resigning or being indicted. I mean, do you plan on, or pleading guilty to things, do you plan on surrounding yourself with that? How do you feel about something like that? The way you sound, it sounds like you don't stand for something like that. Can you maybe add a little bit to that of what I'm asking as far as how you see the district coming out and supporting its communities?
Absolutely. I certainly believe that all of our elected officials should be people of integrity and of high moral character where they're not going to cater to corruption or working for the lobbyists or special interest groups that are funding their campaigns or any of that matter, and instead they're working for the people. But as much as I oppose the elected officials that are, participating in this corruption and all of that stuff, we need to make sure that the people have the power, and they're the ones that need to be aware of this, and they're the ones that need to make sure that they're holding these elected officials accountable and voting them out, or at least making them aware that they're not going to be voting for them in the coming election, and working for another candidate that is going to be representing what this country was founded upon and values of integrity and hard work and doing what's right and just.
I appreciate that answer myself because
thank you. That was very well said for someone your age.
Thank you very much, caller, because I wouldn't want a public official, a state public official, to have any influence at all on who gets elected locally. And to set this litmus test on who's good enough to run for the local board or the local council or the local mayor or supervisor and who isn't, that's not something we want to give other public officials the ability to do. It's supposed to be the voters. And the thing is that I don't know if the issue of term limits is going to come up, but I know that that's why I feel the way I do about term limits. You know, I wouldn't want to give that right to somebody else. I just wouldn't. It's just simple as that. And I don't understand why anybody would want to, you know. Well, it looks like I must have scared somebody off. But we do have other callers on the line. And again, yes, caller, you're on.
Hey, Vince, how are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Wonderful, thank you.
And I know I couldn't scare you off.
Nope, not me. I'm tough. I guess I'm hoping I misunderstood what you just said.
Well, you
didn't
probably
say
did.
that you want things to stay the status quo. You don't want term limits because you want us to be able to vote for our elected officials.
No, first of all, you know, my issue with term limits, we can talk about it, but, you know, and we can talk about how Gia feels about it rather than how I feel about it. No, what I'm saying is we, the voters, are responsible for our vote and how we vote for public officials. I wouldn't want
term limits.
No, I didn't say term limits. Okay. We as voters are the ones that have the power for term limits.
But to be honest with you, Vince, and we can agree to disagree on this, but you and I both know, and your guest as well, how they've manipulated the system against the voters so that we always have the status quo with the same people in office over and over and over again. And we can't get rid of them. No,
and we are going to disagree on this one, but I'd rather have Gia answer her for that because she agrees with you.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to ask her if she was.
But get the full statement that I made earlier with the earlier call. My issue is not about the quality of public officials, other than what I said was I don't want somebody higher up in office, like at a state level or even a federal level, to handpick who's good enough to run and who's not good enough to run. I think that's a decision that's made at the local level, because the previous caller said that the present senator has supported a number of people who have gone afoul of the law. Well, that's on those people. That's not on anybody else, and it shouldn't be on anybody else.
Oh, you're saying it shouldn't be on Senator Maziarz.
Or anybody else. I don't care who's in office. I mean, we're responsible. We're the people that elected the local officials that got in trouble.
Yeah, and again, we can agree to disagree, and I know your guest apparently agrees with me, that this manipulation that's gone on for a number of years now somehow has got to stop. I don't have the answer for it either.
We're in agreement with that. We're in agreement with that, Kathy. What I'm saying is we have the power to make it stop. We shouldn't wait for public officials who have a vested interest in staying in office to make the decision for us, because it's never going to happen.
Right.
It's never going to. So, but we can do it by doing those grassroots things like supporting candidates. Send them $10. Put up a couple signs, circulate the petitions. You know what I'm saying? That's how you do term limits.
Well, and again, I know what you're saying, okay, but it hasn't worked in all these years, and I would prefer personally, all right, enough is enough. I'm tired of the way that the system has gotten to be manipulated by our elected employees who are in office right now. I've had enough. I want term limits on every single one of them. If we can have term limits on the President of the United States, then I want it everywhere else. I just do.
No, that's fine. We can disagree on that. Gia, what do you think?
They give themselves lifetime health care. They take care of their families. You name it, and it's done out there, and it's enough already. And I'm sure your guest agrees.
Yes, I strongly support term limits. And I think that the longer you're in office, the more likely you are to cater to special interests and the lobbyists that are funding your campaigns. Yes. And I think that if we could enact even just an 8-year term limits to start with any public seat, whether it's town, village, county, state, if we can enact Yeah, school board, absolutely. If we can enact those on all the seats, we will help cut down part of that corruption. And the reason that we continue to elect, incumbents that have been in office for 19 years is because they have so much more money than, say, my grassroots campaign that's trying to get out there and make it known. Despite having the volunteers I have, it's going to be a tough uphill battle to defeat someone with a war chest of over $1 million because that war chest is funded by the people he's working for, which are the special interest groups and the energy companies. They're not the people that are in this district that are funding his campaign. They're the people that want him to do what he's doing in Albany, and that has nothing to do with Western New York. He's not helping us out at all. If we can enact term limits, I would strongly support that. I would support a salary decrease for the elected officials in Albany. The amount of corruption that I've even come into contact with right now running for office, the amount of elected representatives in Albany that have come to me or come to people that I surround myself with trying to talk them out of letting me run for office or trying to talk me out of running for office because I'm burning bridges and I'm calling out things that I shouldn't call out, and that, if I make it to Albany, I'm not going to have anyone on my side. And I look at them and I say, well, those are the people I wouldn't want on my side anyway. If I'm pissing them off, I'm doing something right and I'm exposing something that they don't want exposed, and I have no problem doing that. It's vice versa where they have issues with me, so.
That is true. Everything that you just said, you will not have anybody on your side in Albany. It starts with just one, and then you have to build. If you're lucky enough to be able to stay there in Albany until we, the people, elect other people to stand beside you and vote your way and our way.
Well, and I've said before, too, that when, if I can't elect or enact the term limits and no one else supports it, I'll leave after 8 years, and I'll pass it on to the next person I find capable of running. I've got no problem doing that. I look at a public seat as being a service to the community. It's not supposed to be a full-time job. It's not even supposed to be a career, and I will leave after 8 years. If, when my 8 years is up, I will walk away, and I'll say, I endorse this person that I feel will do just as good a job as I have, and hopefully they'll continue that path.
Kathy, before I let you go, because I've got other callers, but before I let you go, now you see what Gia just said. And it's a very good, solid statement. Here's my issue, okay? She's 24 years old. She gets elected at around 25, all right? Her career in the state senate would end 8 years from that at 33. Here's a person that in the most productive years of her life, or his life, it could be a man, 33, learned the job for 8 years. Learn the connections. This is why I'm against the term limits, and then we'll drop the subject.
Okay.
Learn the job, knows where the bathroom is, knows where the conference room is, made the connections and all that. So because she may have gotten across and shook hands with some very powerful people in the state and made friends with them, we should stop her when she is in a position to deliver the most for her district.
It's not a job, it's a service. My job's back at home with the tree service.
I agree with that. I'm just pointing out what listen, everything has good and bad in it.
Yeah,
that's the kind of person I am. I try to look at everything from both sides, and I understand why we should have term limits and why a lot of people want term limits. I understand it, but I think it's also an answer to our laziness as voters and as citizens. If you don't do it, 8 years later, it's over anyway, so what the heck? Why worry? And then some other idiot will come on, who has to learn the job. So now we're looking at 16 years, we're trying to get rid of somebody. But anyway, Kathy, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.
So you're going to run across a lot of that, as far as back and forth. But, you understanding the issue and standing by the issue, it's fine. I have nothing against that, But again, if you can listen, it's a matter of law. It'll become a matter of law, and I think that's the way it should be, But that's all well and good. I just know that for everything that we think is a good thing, it has unintended consequences, and I try to think about those things, and I've learned to do that as a public official. I was on the council for 6 years. I was mayor for 4 years. And everything that came on my desk, no matter how good or bad it looked, it was always try to find out everything you could about it. The unintended consequences, where a lot of people don't think about, because usually when somebody brings something to your table and they'll do the same thing to you as a senator, they're not going to present something and tell you the bad things and the good things. They're going to tell you just the good things. So you have to have the kind of open mind to say, okay, that sounds like a good idea, but what if? And then that's when the research starts and the debate starts. So again, it's Gia Arnold, and we're talking about the upcoming Senate race for the 62nd Senate District. Presently, or currently, Senator Maziarz is our senator for the 62nd District. And Gia, do you have a number of issues that kind of burn in your heart about, as soon as I get there, this is what I want to tackle first?
Absolutely. I want to lower taxes. I want to lower energy costs. I want to repeal the SAFE Act. I want to repeal Common Core, and I want to restore our personal freedoms as according to the United States Constitution. Those are the 5 main things in my platform that I would like to target first. I can go into detail about any one of those things, specifically the SAFE Act, which is what my New York Revolution has been fighting the past year and a half, and how George Maziarz has voted against the SAFE Act when the vote first came through, but he voted yes for the message of necessity to be used with that SAFE Act. He voted yes to fund it in the budget last year. He voted yes to funding it in the budget this year on one of the bills, and there was 2 bills this year in the SAFE Act. He voted to fund one of them, and he voted against the other one so that he could come out and say he voted against the SAFE Act.
We do have some other callers on the line. Would you like to go to a caller?
Sure.
Okay, caller, you're on.
Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
I'm a libertarian conservative, and I just turned the program on, and I just caught a smidgen of it when I got in my car. So what is your party affiliation, ma'am, besides lowering taxes? And I'm also against the SAFE Act, and I'm 1/3 libertarian and 2/3 conservative. I know George, and of course I do like him and so forth, but being a new person running, what can you say something about yourself, what your party is? And I think you said you were 24 years old, ma'am?
Yes, I am a registered Republican. I'll be running for him on the Republican line in the primary, but I also have the Libertarian endorsement, as I strongly believe in the personal freedom ideals that the Libertarian Party represents. I've been working with the Conservative Party as well, as they're looking to endorse me in a couple of the counties in the district.
Yeah, well, as a Libertarian conservative, I'll just take that in consideration.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. And Vince, just wanted to say hello this morning. I just got back from Branson, Missouri, in the military police and on active duty in Germany. And one of my units, the 508th, is had a reunion there amongst Army, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard that meets down there every year.
Well, that's great. I love it when veterans get together because of the old stories that they can tell. I wish that I could meet up with some of the boys I was at Fort Ord, California with, because that's when I had the best time of my life when it came to the military.
Yeah, well, I used to go as a reservist. I went active duty, and then after I was drafted, got out, I went in reserve. I went into your unit, the 98th Division.
Yes, that's what I was attached to, yes.
I was a combat engineer there.
I was a drill sergeant.
A drill?
Yeah.
Oh, you kicked them around, huh?
Yes.
From
Thanks
the morning,
a lot.
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
Branson, Missouri caters to veterans. They give you breaks, and they bend over backwards for you.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, the caller just brought up, party affiliation and all that. And how do you feel about party affiliation when it comes to public office? Do you think? How do you feel that when a voter goes in the general election, I'm talking about, when a voter goes into the voting booth, what do you think should come to their mind? Should it be a party affiliation? Should it be the character of the person? Do you think you should go in the voting booth after you've done, like you talk about research, after you've done some research and maybe almost done a background check on an individual?
Yeah, it's our job as Americans to do our research on the people that we are electing. Just because they're registered with a party or another party doesn't mean that we, don't agree or disagree on some things. And I think it is our most important duty when we go to vote to make sure we know who we're voting for and not just voting party lines.